Hi, welcome back. I hope you had a wonderful break, 2 weeks break, and you're ready for another Insider. This month, I will be talking about fraud in our industry and two ways it can happen and how we should protect ourselves. So, this week, I will be talking about fraudulent agencies. So, this is all sorts of things that may happen. Fraudsters trying to pose as a reputable agency and things like that. So, we are going to talk about this and how we can protect ourselves. So, stay tuned. So, let's talk about fraud and how it can happen. As I said, this month we will be talking about fraud and how it can happen in our industry, either by receiving emails from fraudsters or getting our identity stolen, that we will be talking about next week. So, in regards to agencies, first of all, this is something that is quite frequent, unfortunately, in our industry, and I believe it might happen in other industries as well. But of course, we talk about the one we know better, and obviously, as a translator, I talk about our industry, and it is something that it's quite worrying and upsetting because it is damaging not only for the translator that may ended up being a victim of fraud and maybe working for someone and waiting for a payment that will never come because they were just robbed, and also is damaging for the agency that gets their identity stolen and fraudsters posing as one of their project managers, which obviously is wrong and damages their brand as well. So in the end, there's two victims here, which are the agencies that get the identity stolen and the translators that get robbed, that are victim of this fraud as well. So first of all, it is very important that we know these things may happen, and when we receive an email, we don't assume straight away that that email is going to be a legitimate email. Even if it comes from a private client, you should always see what's on the email, if it makes sense, what is in there, to ascertain if that email would be legitimate or not. Because obviously, and as you know, there will be a lot of scam emails coming through our email inbox, because obviously we have websites, we have our contact there, and of course it's going to be picked up by these fraudsters and they're going to try everything they can. So it is important that when you receive an email, you identify a few red flags there. First of all, language quality of the message. If you are talking about an agency, and these fraudsters usually they go for the big agencies, for agencies that have quite a good reputation in the market, because they know those agencies might be desirable for the translators that would like to work with them. So, and also they are desirable with clients, so that's why translators also like to work with those agencies. And if they use the identity of those big agencies, they may have a chance of being seen as legitimate. So be careful about that. Even if it's on the name of a huge agency, always check everything and make sure it is really coming from that agency, because it might not be the truth. So, first of all, quality of the text. You should look at it, and when you read it, obviously, it's either in English. I would say that most of emails we receive will be in English, but obviously depend on the languages that you work with and whatever work it is to do. So, but whatever languages or language the email is written in should be obviously correct, spotless, and fluent. I wouldn't accept that, for example, a huge agency would write me an email with lots of errors and with a language quality that was substandard. Obviously, it does not happen because they know they are working with linguists, they are working with language professionals, and they are themselves language professionals as well. And of course, their quality is good. So if you receive an email that when you go and you read it, it sounds more like a Google Translate work rather than someone else writing it, that's your first red flag that that email may not be legitimate, and you should be aware of that and very careful. Then the second way of identifying it, and because fraudsters, they are very creative and sometimes they go through the length of copying the logo of the legitimate agency, trying to see the fonts that they use in their websites and the communications, etc., so they can emulate what the legitimate agency has. So another way of you making sure you are dealing with the real deal is on the signature. You'll see the name of the person, and then the signature should have the logo, usually has the logo, and then all the information about the agency, usually the social media links, that now you don't even have the links anymore, you just have the logos of the social media pages. I do it myself. And when you over you just go and click and goes to their pages, and in the home page it's another way of identifying. You should compare the link. Never click on any links that come from these emails unless you are 100% sure they are coming from the legitimate agency, but above it, and just look at the link that will show, it will appear the link that you are supposed to click in, and compare it with the legitimate agency. How do you do that? You just a simple Google search for the name of the agency, and of course the first thing that will appear on your search will be the legitimate agency, because if it's a big agency, they invest thousands of dollars in SEO, so they are ranked on top. So if you go for the exact name, of course they will be there. And even if the fraudster had registered, because it's something that happens as well, sometimes they register a very similar domain to trick people to believe it is the legitimate agency. Even if that happens, it's quite unlikely that it's going to appear on your search, and if it does, it won't be the first entry. The first entry will be the real deal, the legitimate agency, and that will be a red flag for you. If the domain, even the email, if you get an email from a Gmail account or an Outlook account or any of free accounts, obviously it's not going to be from an agency. Agencies have their own domains. I keep on saying this for my colleagues and for everyone. If you run a business, you need a presence online, and that is a website with your own domain. So it is unthinkable to think that a legitimate agency, a reputable agency, would not have a web page and would not have their own domain. So if you get an email claiming to be from an agency, coming from a free domain, a free email account, forget it. It will be a fraud. It won't be legitimate. Just don't deal with it. Don't do it. And then, of course, if you go to Blueboard, for example, search for the name of that particular agency and see what comes up. See the logo, compare, see the logo that appears there. Sometimes the logo might be there. See the names. Sometimes they have names of certain project managers that when translators give their reviews, they say, oh, person such and such was lovely, or I didn't really like to work with person such and such, and you will have an idea of names. If it's legit, you might even find the name of the person that contacted you, and you said, okay, looks like it is legitimate because other colleagues have worked with this person and they identify this person as being one of the project managers for this agency, and then you would be happy to do it. But if it's a Gmail account, I can assure you, you won't find it. And then even if you verify all of this, the domain, the email account, which is basically the same thing, the quality of the message that you received, etc., and you're still not 100% sure about that, then I would say on your search, when you find the legitimate website for that agency, contact them and tell them, look, I received this email about this project. I'm not 100% sure if this is a legitimate email or if it's someone posing as your company. Is this project really something that you guys are needing help with? Because if it is, I would like to apply. And they will be very happy to tell you if indeed that comes from them or not. And if it's not, they will obviously be happy to know about it, because then they can act upon that occurrence, that fact that someone else is posing as their company, and they obviously can do something about it. So it is important, first of all, to identify all these red flags and then make your own decision. Obviously, if you identify all these red flags and you ascertain that that email is not legitimate and someone else is posing as that agency, for ethical reasons, I would say that it would be correct to contact the agency, the legitimate agency, and say, look, I have received this email. I ascertained that this is not a legitimate email and someone else is posing as your company. I'm just letting you know so you guys can do whatever you think fit. And they will also be happy that you did that, because at the end of the day, we should all be working together in order to eradicate fraud. As I said in the beginning of the video, it's unfortunately something that is very, very hard to eradicate, because more and more scams are coming up and people are getting more and more creative with these things. But if we are also more and more aware of these things, we may get protected and they may eventually give up. Wishful thinking. So be aware. It's important. Be aware. Just check everything. Check the red flags. And I think you will be right. And that's all for today. I hope you really like this insider today. I hope it really helped you understand the dynamics of all this issue with fraud these days. Especially, I know that if you are in the business for a while, you will know for sure how to do this. But I'm obviously thinking about my colleagues that are now starting out, and sometimes it is confusing. I know that when I started, it was a little bit confusing for me, because you never know if it's going to be legitimate or not. Of course, if it's a Gmail account, you know straight away that it is not. If the language is really bad, you really know it is not. But sometimes when they get creative with creating domains, very similar domains and things like that, it can get a bit tricky, because you might think, oh well, this really looks like the real deal, and you might end up confused and obviously scammed. So that's not what we want. So this is why I decided to bring this subject to our insider this month. So today we were talking about being contacted by scammers posing as agencies or clients, and next week I will be talking about a different thing. That's when the scammers steal your identity and how you should protect yourself from that. So if you have any questions, about this or other ideas, or if you have been contacted by a similar scam of what we have spoken about today, but with totally different things, and you may want to alert us, look, there is some scammers are doing this or that, please share, because it is very important that we share all this information so more and more translators have access to this information, and we can protect ourselves better against it. Or if you have any questions, please feel free to leave your comments below. And put a like on the video, and subscribe the channel with a click on the bell so you get a notification of a new insider every week or fortnight. As I said, there was some changes made to the channel until the end of the week, or should I say the year. And now it's only the 2 middle weeks of each month that your insider will be published. Next week there will be an insider. So before I go, I would like to thank you all for watching. See you next week. There will be an insider next week. Have a good one. See you. Bye.